What's up, Michiana Outdoors? It's John Cruz, and I'm going to give you the 3 top picks for me on catching fish using forward-facing sonar. Now, there's a lot of different techniques, a lot of different things that people are doing nowadays, but these are the ones that work for me. And it's kind of like 3 different ranges, 3 different ideas, 3 different thought processes. So I'm gonna go through them right now. Number 1 is kind of like the old school. This is probably the one I have the most confidence in. This is the drop shot. So for me, I'm using a drop shot, usually about a 1/4 ounce sinker. I'll go up to, if I'm throwing it for smallmouth, I will go up to a heavier sinker to get that reaction as that bait is dropping down near them, in front of them. I'm going to be throwing a Missile Baits Magic Worm, either the 4 or the 6 inch. If I'm specifically more for largemouth, I'm going to go with the 6 inch. If I'm going to go more smallmouth, I'm going to drop down to the 4 inch. And I really like Texas rigging it, just like that right there with the Gamakatsu G-Finesse worm hook, that finesse worm hook. I'm going to do a 7-pound Sunline leader. That's kind of my standard. Sometimes I'll go down to a 6, sometimes I'll bump up to an 8, but that's kind of the system that I use. And then cash and drop shot rod 7.4 is what I like here, counterbalanced rod, but you want to have something that has at least 7 feet of length. A little bit longer, it gives you a little bit more leverage and being able to get a good hook set on those fish. And then I use 12-pound braid. It's kind of my standard for doing that. You could drop down a little bit more, but there's no need to. I go with that 12-pound. You can put a lot of pressure on them. So that the first thing I'm going to be using is a drop shot. Those are for when the fish are a little bit more oriented to the bottom. That's kind of when, or around structure, clumps of grass, rock piles, things like that. That's where the drop shot really is something that you're going to be using. Next, we're going to be going to one of the more newer techniques, even new to me, and this is the hover rig. And with this, this is for the fish that are higher in the water column, a little bit more suspended fish. You want something that goes in front of them that's not going to rocket right past them. It's going to give it somewhat of a natural yet erratic action. That hover rig. This is the hover missile from Missile Baits. We have various size hooks, and just depending on the size bait. This bait is the Spunk Shad, the 3.5 inch. This is probably the one I go to the most. That 3.5 inch with that smaller #1 hook. It's a Gamakatsu jig hook in there. You can throw that out there. That bait's going to fall down kind of erratically, horizontally, and then all you're going to do is just kind of steady reel. And just by you speeding up and slowing down the reel ever so slightly, that bait's going to kind of wander and kind of roll a little bit and wander. That little bit of erratic action, if you can get that bait in front of the fish, give them that kind of a natural yet erratic action, those suspended fish, they don't stand a chance, buddy. I'm telling you right now. Lighter line, 7-pound, again, 7-pound Sunline FC Sniper leader is what I usually do there. And then we're going to have a little lighter action rod. This is a Cashin forward-facing sonar rod. It's the light lure version. It's got a little softer tip. Then I'm going to be going with like 11-pound All Might braided line. So that's kind of my number 2 setup. Now, if you're like, all right, boys, I'm done with the fairy wands. I see those big dots over there. Maybe they're more of largemouth. Maybe they're a little bit more of the things that, like, we really want those big smallmouth. We're trying to get a reaction out of them. I'm going to pick up the Spro Megalojohn. It's a harness style swim bait. It's got the little magnet on the bottom. If I'm throwing open water, I'm going to use the magnet. If I'm throwing more around docks and cover and skipping it, I'm going to stick that treble hook more in the sides like that so it won't pop out as easy. But yeah, a little heavier tackle. It's a 6-inch, bigger, thicker, a lot of thump. If you've got some wind, if you've got more of largemouth around clumps of grass, you're really trying to get their attention, and you want that bigger profile, that bigger thump. That is the way to do it right there. And it's because it has a little more weight. When you throw it out there and cast it, it's going to get 5, 6, 8 feet down relatively easily. You don't have to go into a coma and not reel it for a while to get it down that far. Throw it out there, wait just a second or two, and then just a steady retrieve. You're going to get that bait 6 and 8 feet down right to where those big old largemouth and maybe even smallmouth live. But 18-pound Sunline Sniper is usually the line I like to use. I use a little bit bigger reel. This is my favorite one. It's a Daiwa. It's the Zillion HD. Love that reel. And then I've got it on the Cashin Icon big bait rod. That's a little bit longer, but handles the big treble hook baits very well. Glide baits, baits like this, baits with the Megalojohn. So that's really my 1, 2, 3 punch for live scope fishing. It's a lot of fun. There's a bunch of different baits you can use, but that's really my 1, 2, 3 punch on using the forward facing sonar.